This is Hofstra's Campus Conversations, the official podcast of Hofstra University's leadership team, focusing on issues of importance to Hofstra and higher education. Now welcome today's host, Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, Charlie Riordan.
Hello, thank you, and welcome to this episode of Campus Conversations. Today we'll discuss an exciting experience that is offered at Hofstra that enhances our students' educational and personal growth journey, study abroad. Studying abroad is a transformative way to complete course requirements while learning about new cultures, exploring the world, and becoming global citizens. Our students can take part in semester-long programs or shorter-term programs offered during spring break or January and summer sessions. This episode will provide informative for students and faculty alike interested in learning more about study abroad. Joining me today to talk about our study abroad programs at Hofstra are Suzanne Pike, Associate Provost for Academic Support and Global Initiatives, and Cassie Larson, Director of Study Abroad. Welcome to Campus Conversations, Suzanne and Cassie.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Yep, thank you.
So let's begin by learning more about each of you. Suzanne, you've been a member of the Hofstra community for a quarter of a century now. Can you tell us about your journey at Hofstra and how you became involved in study abroad?
Sure, yeah. So 25 years has certainly flown by. I spent the first 15 years in career services on the student affairs side of the house. And then in 2015, made the jump over to academic affairs to take on a role as an assistant provost in the provost office, helping students with all different types of academic challenges, faculty as well. And then just after the pandemic, so in 2021, I was asked to step in and reinvigorate the study abroad program at Hofstra. And I've been overseeing that process for the last 4 years and was thrilled to have Cassie Larson join us last year as Director of Study Abroad.
Fantastic. It's really important that we're able to build that program back now that we're in a post-COVID environment, so important for our students. So thanks, Suzanne, for that, and obviously thanks for your many years of service. We're fortunate to have you in the Provost's office as a fantastic colleague and advocate for students in all of our academic programs. Cassie, so Suzanne mentioned, you're a much newer member of the Hofstra community. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you've begun to learn about study abroad programming at Hofstra since you became the director of the office recently.
I am newer. I've been at Hofstra for 3 years now, in the study abroad director role for 7 months. Similar to Suzanne, I started off at student affairs, so over at orientation and new student programs. Before this, while this role change might be a bit unusual, it kind of does speak to who I am. I moved around a lot growing up, both within the States and overseas. I come from a multicultural environment, and most of my family are still in their home country. After undergrad, I actually moved to Thailand and worked there for 2 years. Having gone through many transitions in my life, some I've handled better than others, I want to support students as they're going through their own transitions. My time with orientation has allowed me to support our students as they navigate this change from high school to college. It's allowed me to be aware of the concerns and nuances surrounding this generation, and so I've brought that with me to study abroad. It's been incredible to learn about the wide range of programs we offer students. So no matter what their program is, their interests, their goals, we can find something for them. Partnerships Hofstra currently has with institution abroad allow, for example, maybe like a finance student here participate in an exchange program at Korea University Business School. So not only are they learning finance from a U.S. perspective, but through courses at Korea University, they're also learning finance from a Korean perspective. This expands their knowledge base, their cultural understanding, which ultimately then increases their marketability post-graduation.
Great. Clearly, through your lived experiences and your academic growth, you're well suited to lead by example in the study abroad program. Cassie, that's fantastic. Studying abroad, obviously, is a very impactful and, as I mentioned, transformative way to learn and engage with coursework here at Hofstra. So I think it'd be helpful to talk a little bit about how students can decide which types of study abroad program is the best fit for them, because there are many, many options, which makes that a little bit overwhelming as you think about what the opportunities are. And as you two are both expert to comment on, we have not only semester-long programs, as I said at the outset, but shorter term or even hybrid options that would allow students to perhaps dip their toe before they thought about a semester-long experience. So Suzanne, why don't you lead off by saying a little bit more about some of these types of programs, when they typically occur, and a little bit about what a hybrid program might look like?
Sure, yeah. So, I think to answer the question a little bit more broadly, it really depends on what kind of student you are, what kind of environment you would succeed in that moment in your life. There are a large amount of students who've never been abroad before, and the idea of going abroad, even for a week, is petrifying to them.
Right.
So we have programs set up where they're not just going to go on a plane and enter a country and be on their own for 5 months, right? So one type of program that is really a great fit for students who might be a little timid is our faculty-led programs. So our faculty-led programs can be anywhere from 1 week to 3 to 4 weeks. Many times over a January session, we'll have a 1-week program where students can travel with a Hofstra faculty member along with other Hofstra students. So it's like a security blanket. It's a new experience, but they have the comfort of having familiar people around them. The summer faculty-led programs tend to be a little bit longer. It depends on the year. It depends on the month of what we offer. We also offer spring break programs where students can go away for 5 to 7 days, again, with Hofstra faculty, Hofstra students. If students are feeling a little bit more confident, a little bit more like they want to expand beyond the comfort of Hofstra, then we also have programs where they can study at schools across the world for anywhere from 3-4 weeks up to a full year if they wanted to. And these come in all different shapes and forms. Sometimes these are exchange programs where we have a partnership with a school like the University of Amsterdam, and our students go to Amsterdam and the Amsterdam students come to Hofstra. Those are usually full semester programs. We work with a whole host of what we call private providers. They're essentially like companies or travel agents that set up experiences for students to study at a university in the city of your choice, and they help with housing and excursions. And then there are these hybrid programs where, you might take a class at Hofstra during the fall semester and you don't get a grade yet. You go away for a week with your faculty, and that is a version of a hybrid where you get to have an international experience as part of an internal Hofstra course. And there are also another version of hybrid programs where you might be doing an internship online with an organization that is abroad.
Right.
There's all different types of ways this can come together.
That's fantastic. And as Cassie said, one of the nice things about this is it really positions our students, I think, to be very competitive and very attractive when they graduate in the job market. And obviously, the cultural competencies are really critically important. So clearly, a large variety of options are offered. And I think it's also true to say, Suzanne, correct me if I'm wrong, we're expanding those offerings every semester, it seems like.
Yep, we are. Part of the work that I'm doing now is on global initiatives. So we're expanding some of our exchange agreements, looking critically at where our students like to study and what we might be able to provide to them to ease the process. So developing relationships between Hofstra and a particular school abroad. So expanding those exchange agreements. Also looking at schools that just accept students to study abroad for short periods of time. Cassie's doing a lot of work on looking at our private provider programs and really looking at what are we offering students and does this make sense? So right now we have hundreds and hundreds of opportunities posted, which in one hand sounds really great, but on the other hand, if you're a student for the first time looking at it all, it's very overwhelming. So we're working on that as well.
That sounds like a good investment of time, absolutely. So again, something for everyone clear. It's great that our faculty are able to create these programs, and I think one thing our faculty do very well is to tailor these programs to their expertise and their interests. I would also comment that although studying abroad can be an exhilarating and transformative experience, it can be challenging, especially with regard to finances. So Cassie, I'll pose this question to you. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about affording study abroad that students may have? For example, are there opportunities for students to work while they're studying abroad to help cover costs?
What I always try to tell students is that, especially for our semester-long programs, their federal and their state aid can be applied to those.
Right.
There are also scholarships available specifically just for studying abroad. Some of the more well-known ones are the Gilman, the Boren Awards, Critical Language Scholarship. And while these are funded by the State Department and were impacted by the recent cuts that were happening earlier in the year, we have seen some payments being made to these scholarships, so which is all a good sign. What's also surprising to students is that their Hofstra Academic Scholarship can be applied towards the tuition costs for semester-long programs. A lot of the private providers that Suzanne mentioned have scholarships of their own and grants of their own that they offer. I know of ones that offer grants specifically just for airfare costs. And also then, depending on the country where you're going, living expenses can be lower.
Right.
Additionally, some programs also offer homestays as a living option, which is when students live with a local family abroad. With this living option, meals are included in that. That's a cost that students don't have to worry about. I like to point out that it's not just any meals, but it's home-cooked meals.
Exactly. Very immersive experience.
Yes, very immersive. And with the families, they really want to kind of teach our students the culture and the language of where they're at. Really looking at all of these different resources and taking it into account. Some study abroad programs can cost the same or maybe even less than staying on campus, if I'm allowed to say that.
You are allowed to say that. Thanks, Cassie. And I appreciate you demystifying the financial considerations for study abroad. That's great. So our students should certainly consider speaking to their financial aid counselor very early in the process as they're considering applying for their Hofstra scholarship and to make sure it can be applied to study abroad options. So at Hofstra, we offer undergraduate and graduate programs on campus, obviously. How do study abroad opportunities differ for undergraduates versus graduate students? Are there programs that combine study abroad with internships, research opportunities, thesis-based study, etc.? Cassie, why don't you respond if you would?
So I have seen a rise in graduate students asking about study abroad opportunities, which kind of makes sense because most of these students were in their undergrad during COVID and so didn't have the opportunity to go abroad. Many of our faculty-led programs have really kind of opened up this option for our grad students. This past spring break, the Creative Arts program through the School of Health Sciences was in Ireland, working with local experts on the application of creative expressive therapies through an Irish lens. The Zarb School of Business has a global practicum experience as part of their MBA program, and this summer they're actually going to Japan. Also, for our other faculty-led trips, a lot of them offer a graduate course equivalent, so many of our grad students can participate in those as well. To talk specifically for undergraduate students and kind of research opportunities, many of our providers that we work with do offer this to our students. Many of them will either offer kind of a summer internship opportunity or a part-time internship for our semester-long programs. We also currently have a student doing a research project in Switzerland through the Euro Scholars Program. So it's really kind of incredible to see the different types of opportunities that are available to our students.
And it's great to see that our graduate students have similar opportunities. And your point I think is very well taken. Because of the COVID pandemic, many of our graduate students who would have studied abroad as undergraduates didn't have that opportunity. So great chance for professional development and developing those cultural competencies that we value so much. So for students to complete internships and research abroad provides a new and interesting perspective on their work, I'm sure, for them. As our students head abroad, how can they be more culturally aware and prepared? What can they learn from the cultures where they are studying? Suzanne?
It's a complicated question, but it's also easy at the same time. And I think it's easy because it's really on the students to determine where they have the strongest interest in studying abroad. Is that country or that city culturally interesting to them and accepting of their identity? Whenever I was working with students on where they were choosing to study abroad, I always said to whomever I was working with, think about how long you're going to be in this country, how long you're going to be in this city, and can you not only envision yourself living there, but enjoying it?
Right.
It may put you in a position where you have culture shock. Are you okay with that what should be temporary feeling? And or are you okay with feeling sort of like an outsider for that period of time? So it really comes down to doing your research ahead of time, knowing what type of culture you're walking into. We actually have a little feature on our Study Abroad website, on our landing page, on our homepage that says your identity overseas. And so it walks students through all those important questions they should be asking themselves about going abroad, making themselves culturally aware of what they should be expecting.
Right.
And that can be everything from their race, their ethnicity, their gender, their sexual identity, even down to, do they have a disability? Do they have a physical disability? Are they going to be able to find transportation easily? Are they going to be able to walk cobblestone streets easily? And then what school are they going to be studying at? And how will that school support those learning disabilities or those physical disabilities? Even looking at the school's demographics, are you going to fit in? Are you okay with not fitting in?
Right.
So all those important questions that
Yeah.
I think we should, students should research and talk to Cassie, talk to me before they go. I worked with a student who was planning on studying abroad in a country where it's a very conservative culture. It was very male, sort of patriarchal, right, where the men had control over the family, and the student was gay. There was this whole sort of dynamic that they had to figure out before they even left as to how they were going to navigate those challenges.
Right. That's interesting. So there's a lot of work and I think self-reflection that students can do before they engage, because on the one hand, one of the great things about being outside of your comfort zone and in a different culture is that growth that actually comes from change. But you need to know yourself to have some understanding of what level of difference and distinctiveness you're comfortable in and what might be too much.
Right. And saying to yourself, okay, well, maybe I don't want to do this for a whole semester. Maybe I only want to do this for 2 weeks or 3 weeks before I jump into a whole semester. Let me try it out first, and then I could always study abroad again.
Exactly. So it's important, as we've been talking about, for students and faculty alike traveling abroad to be respectful of others in order to have the most effective experience while they're abroad. So now I'd like to shift to a logistical note. How do we decide on which locations and universities to partner with for our new programs? And in particular, what role do student feedback and faculty input play in developing these new study abroad programs?
When going into new partnerships with institutions abroad, the questions that we're kind of asking are, does this institution offer courses that align with our students' academic needs? Right now, more specifically, we're really looking at STEM, engineering, computer science, health sciences, areas where we're seeing a rise in student interest in studying abroad, but maybe have a bit more specific course requirements. Are these institutions accredited? Is it in a location that students are already asking about or are already showing an interest in? Is it in an area that maybe is currently underrepresented in our portfolio? What are the program costs? Do students' financial aid or scholarships apply? What are the support services provided, and orientation, mental health services, accessibility that Suzanne was speaking about? Any kind of community building events, extracurriculars? Are there any kind of faculty or institutional ties that have been already established? Is there a potential for faculty-led programs or research collaborations? Obviously, with these and the more questions that we're asking these institutions, our students and our faculty are kind of always at the heart of it when we're developing these new partnerships. We're also always interested, right, to hear from our students, to hear from our faculty of any programs that they'd be interested in seeing. So they can always email us, see us downstairs in Memorial Hall, room 012. We're always there.
Fantastic. Suzanne and Cassie, let's close the conversation with some exciting news for the upcoming semesters. Can you share with our listeners an example or two of new study abroad programs that we envision launching soon?
This summer, we are happy to bring back Hofstra in Japan, which was stalled for a number of years. Professor Welch just showed such enthusiasm to bring it back. So we're excited that students will have that opportunity. We are also in the beginning stages of working with 2 faculty members on an interdisciplinary trip for next year, 2026, which will be held in Spain. And it's tentatively called Drawing Across the Disciplines. and it's a collaboration between fine arts and engineering. They're planning on going to Spain with students, so we're excited about seeing that come to fruition. And we do have a number of exchange agreements, 2 exchange agreements that are coming into play. One is with Northumbria University, which is in Newcastle, Northern England. We'll be expanding that exchange agreement so that all students at Hofstra can go there and attend for a semester. We are hoping that we'll have an exchange agreement with a school in Greece, in Thessaloniki, called the American College of Thessaloniki. Those are some upcoming new initiatives.
One that's already kind of new for fall and students are already applying for is a direct partnership that we've established with Sant'Anna Institute in Sorrento, Italy. We've already had students go here through providers. With this partnership, we'll work directly with this institution. Our students will enroll directly with them, and our students get a discount on the program costs, which is awesome. This institute specifically kind of has a pretty robust portfolio when it comes to service learning projects, internships, experiential learning, and it also has kind of a wide range of academic disciplines from business to natural sciences, health sciences, and it's also focused on the student experience and providing support for our students. So they organize a number of activities throughout this semester. There are clubs students can join. They have a well-being center. So this is one I'm excited about, and it's also located in the part of Italy where I grew up, so I am also a bit biased on that.
Right on the coast.
As you should be. That sounds beautiful. I can see why students would have a great challenge in deciding where to go with so many options and already continuing to expand those options. So thank you, Suzanne and Cassie, for joining me for this episode of Campus Conversations. It was insightful to learn about the many study abroad programs offered at Hofstra. It's exciting to learn about the leadership that each of you is bringing to the programs as we really look to expand them. Interdisciplinarity, which is a key tenet of the Hofstra 100 strategic plan, is clearly in the minds as we think about study abroad options as well. And after listening to this episode, I'm sure more of our students will take advantage of the broad array of opportunities offered at Hofstra.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. This was great.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Hofstra Campus Conversations. Until next time, go Pride.
If you have questions, comments, or topic ideas for Hofstra's Campus Conversations, please email podcast@hofstra.edu. Hofstra University has produced and provides this podcast for general information only. It is created in collaboration with WRHU Studios.